Hi guys, welcome to part 1 of the video for review problem set number 2. The topic for this problem set is Pythagorean theorem. So we're going to do a little review of that just to again help get us prepared for learning some new math next week. So hopefully you all have a piece of paper and something you can write with. Before we start, make sure you have your paper set up, so please write review problem set number 2 in the middle at the top. That will be our title, and then in the upper right, please put your name. Pause if you need to get set up, otherwise keep watching and we'll go on to the first problems. Alright, so we've got 2 problems today, each with 2 parts. The first 2 we're going to go through together, and then the next 2 I'll show them to you, and I'll have them I'll have you try them on your own. Oh my god. I'll have you try them on your own, and then there will be a second video that shows the answers and solutions. Alright, so we're using the Pythagorean theorem to find the missing sides. So let's start by just remembering what the Pythagorean theorem says. If we have a right triangle, with sides A, B, and hypotenuse C, the Pythagorean theorem says that A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So the sum of the 2 legs squared, you square the legs, add them together, you get the hypotenuse squared. And it's really important to remember where the hypotenuse is. The hypotenuse is always across from that 90-degree angle. So that's how you're going to figure out what your C is in these problems. Okay, so let's look at our first triangle. Let's start by identifying A, B, and C. So I see that, this side here is across from my right angle. So this side is going to be my hypotenuse. That's C. Then it doesn't matter which of the other 2 we choose to be A or B. So let's just choose 16 to be A and 30 to be B. Alright, so I'm going to write down our formula. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. And now let's start plugging in what we know. I know that A is 16, right? So where I see A, I can put 16. I also know that B is 30, so where I see B, I can put 30. So I have A squared plus B squared. I don't know what C is. C is my missing side. So I'm just going to leave that as C, and that's what we're going to try to solve for. Alright, so we identified our sides as A, B, and C. We plugged those into our formula. Now let's just start solving. So you might need a calculator with you while you do this. 16 squared, that's 16 times 16, is 256. 30 squared, that's 30 times 30 is 900. And we still have C squared over here. Okay, 256 plus 900 should be 1156. Alright, so I have 1156 equals C squared. Now, think to yourself for a second, how do we get rid of a square? We want to get c by itself. I want to get rid of that square on c, that exponent. So think to yourself for a second, what's the opposite of squaring something? Hopefully we remember that it's the square root. So I'm going to square root both sides. If I square root 1156, I get 34. And if I square root c squared, I just get c. So my missing side is 34. If you're using your phone calculator to do this, if you turn it sideways, you'll see a little button that looks like this. So if you want to square root a number, enter the number into your calculator and then click that button and that will square root it. Just as a little note. Okay, hopefully that is coming back to us. Let's try our next one. So again, let's start by identifying our A, B, and C here. So I'm going to always start by identifying the hypotenuse. So that's across from my right angle. So there's my hypotenuse, 29. In this case, we know the hypotenuse. The other sides, it doesn't matter which ones we choose to be A or B. So I'm going to choose this guy to be A, and I'm going to choose 20 to be my B value. Okay, so I picked A, B, and C. Now I want to plug those into my formula. So it's a right triangle. That means I know A squared. Oh, that doesn't look very good. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. And now I'm just going to start plugging in stuff that I know. I don't know A. A is my missing side. So I'm just going to leave that as a variable. I'm going to leave that as A squared. Okay, I do know B. B is 20, so I'm going to put 20 where B goes. So I have A squared plus 20 squared equals, and now this time I know what C is. C is 29, so I'm going to put 29 where C goes. All right. We identified our A, B's, and C's. We plugged those into our formula. The one that we didn't know, we left it as a variable. And now our goal is going to be to get A by itself. So I'm going to start by simplifying. A squared is just A squared. 20 squared, that's 20 times 20 is 400. And 29 squared, I don't know that off the top of my head. 29 times 29. 841. Okay, again, I'm trying to get A by itself, so I need to get rid of this 400 to start getting A by itself. So I'm going to just subtract that 400 off from both sides of my equation. That makes that 400 cancel out. So on the left side, I just have A squared left. And then on the right side, I have 841 minus 400 should be 441. Okay, now I want to get A by itself. I have A squared, so I need to get rid of that square. I need to get rid of the exponent on A. So we're doing the opposite of squaring. We talked about that in the last problem. That's the square root. So I'm going to square root both sides. On the left, I just have A by itself. And on the right, I need to do square root of 441. So again, on your calculator, you can punch in 441 and then click the little button that looks like this. And that'll square root it for you. And if you do that, I think we should get 21. Let me just check that to be sure. Yes. Okay, Okay, awesome. So what we saw here was an example of using the Pythagorean theorem to find the hypotenuse when the hypotenuse was unknown, and that's a little simpler. And then we also did it when one of the legs was unknown. So we knew the hypotenuse, we had to solve for a leg. This one has the extra step of you have to subtract something off before you square root. Okay, so we identify our A, B's, and C's, we plug them into the formula, then we solve. Here are the two problems I would like you to try on your own. Pause the video if you need to write them down. So I would like you to take a minute, try these on your own. I've written the Pythagorean theorem here for you if you need it, and I've drawn this little arrow so that we remember that C is the side that's across from the right angle. Take a minute, try these on your own, and then if you want to check your answers, you can look at the part 2 video. Okay, thanks guys.